Alright, what's good, chat? Today we're going to be checking out the Ed, Edd N Eddy Purgatory theory. Let's get it. Ed, Edd N Eddy! Hey.
In the world of 90s cartoons, there are many iconic shows and characters that rocked our screens. It won't be a simple task to pick apart the wackiest one of them all. Today, we're going to show you just that. A show that was so absurd that nothing made sense. It's the Ed, Edd N Eddy show that we're talking about. The show was bizarre in every aspect, from its offbeat animation style to pale-skinned characters. There was definitely something not quite right. There's a ton of fan theories that I bet you didn't know about. These theories have been floating around ever since the show's inception, and one such theory is the Purgatory one, where all the kids are dead yet alive. Make sure you complete this episode, because we're going to give you the details about this crazy thought that will knock your 90s socks right off. Join us in this fresh take on the nostalgic memories from our childhood, if you're ready. Just before we go into our video though, we have a small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Now let's begin.
Ed boy!
As a kitten in a tree.
Why this theory could be true. What you might have missed in the show is that every character is suggested to be dead and living in the afterlife. The neighbourhood in which the show takes place is said to symbolise a place called the Purgatory. In case you didn't know, that is where sinners suffer to atone for their sins before they reach heaven. Dark, isn't it? Further, the characters don't portray features of humans that are alive, but rather ones who are dead. For instance, their tongues aren't the normal pink colour of a healthy human, but instead it has a blue-greyish hue, which is found on decaying corpses.
Is this man really about to ruin my childhood? Now ruin one of my favorite childhood shows. Again, it's just a theory. Y'all already know. Go on YouTube and type in a theory. There's a theory for everything, every cartoon you could think of. But Ed, Edd N Eddy. I missed this one. Never heard of this theory. I don't know about them. They're dead? They're in purgatory? What? I never once got that from this show. But now that he's mentioning the odd colored tongues and all this other stuff, all right, man, whatever. Continue to ruin my childhood, sir.
Now that makes me wonder, is this why most of us like dark humour? Another such example is the skin tone. Every character has pale skin, which is once again a common characteristic of people who have, stopped breathing. Moreover,
they look more like yellow, like Big Ed's yellow. His sister, she looks normal to me. Now that like when I think about Ed's sister, she definitely gives off normal skin color, normal skin tone, all that stuff. Even Jimmy right here, even Jimmy, you know what I'm saying? I don't know about the whole skin color one, but proceed to cook, sir.
There's absolutely no adults in the show, and the kids seem to be all on their own. And think about it, when was the last time you saw an entire neighbourhood full of tweens? Although there are mentions of the parents and other adults, the theories suggest that they've never been on the show. There's one notable exception within the show, with Eddie's older brother appearing in an episode that showed their departure from the so-called Purgatory. Besides all of this, the characters are shown using various technologies like CDs, cassette tapes, even typewriters. This points towards an ambiguous timeline of the show and also indicates that every character belongs to a different time period. I mean, why not? They arrived in Purgatory according to the chronology of their time of death, which is some really dark stuff.
Damn, because they're all kids!
I'm so scared! I'm shaking like cheese!
Characters and theories. Every character in the show died differently and in a different time period. Hence, they all have their own backstory about life and death. Simply knowing the theory isn't enough, so we need to dive into the characters and their dark sides too.
Rolf's mind goes.
Rolf? The son of a shepherd? What?
Rolf, the immigrant. Rolf comes from a distant land that he knows as the Old Country. He's the son of an immigrant farmer. Before arriving at the cul-de-sac, Rolf worked tirelessly on his parents' small farm. He's also the leader of a Boy Scout troop called Urban Rangers. His little gang includes Jimmy, Plank and Johnny. Rolf takes great pleasure in his farming heritage. He often calls himself the proud son of a shepherd. One distinctive feature about Rolf is that he always speaks in the third person. The theory suggests that Rolf was the first to arrive from the 1900s era. His family moved to Peach Creek to set up a farm. Ultimately though, Rolf passed away around 1903 due to a tragic incident where his family's farm animals stampeded and trampled him. This incident is believed to be the reason why, in the afterlife, Rolf only has a limited number of animals, including including 1 cow, 1 goat, a few pigs, a few chickens, all of which wouldn't be enough to cause a fatal stampede.
Did he say Rolf died in 1903? Where did you pull this year from, sir? Where did you get that number? Because that's quite precise. You know what I'm saying? That's too specific. 1903. I mean, Rolf is one of my favorite characters. He's one of the best characters on the show. We all can admit that. You know what I'm saying? I am the son of a Ed boy, son of a shepherd, and all that stuff. Rolf has some legendary moments. But wow, my man's got trampled by his own livestock in 1903. Damn, Rolf. Now, this video isn't that long. I wonder how many characters he's gonna I'm about to learn about their deaths. This is crazy. Because watching this show, obviously, we were children. I never once got the idea that, hey, they're all dead. It's zombie land. I actually wish I lived in the cul-de-sac. You know how many times after watching that show, I was like, damn, I wish I could just live there, hang out with all the Ed boys, you know what I'm saying? Get our hustle on, get our scam on, and get these jawbreakers. Like, I actually really wanted that. Well, I'm glad that never happened, because had I ended up there, apparently I would have been dead.
This shows the amount of fear that stems from his death. Even in the afterlife, though, he diligently tended to his animals each day and maintained his role as a farm boy.
What you doing, Kevin?
That's facts.
Did you lose something? Maybe he lost something, Plank. What's that, Plank?
Johnny 2x4.
Johnny
was a kid from the neighborhood, and I have to say, not everyone liked him. Johnny's nickname, Johnny 2x4, most likely comes from his wooden plank size. This was either ingenious or an absolute absence of creativity, but either way it worked. Johnny has a large head with little to no hair in it, and this made him the butt of many jokes in the episodes. He was often found annoying others in the neighborhood with his chatty nature, yet he was Forrest Gump level chatty. He was barely seen alone. He always seemed to be accompanied by his imaginary friend, Plank. And Plank was exactly what it sounds like, a wooden plank with eyes and a mouth drawn on it.
Alright, chat, now I've said this in a previous video. Actually, I think in my last, it's on the second channel. In a video I did on the second channel with Big Ed being the biggest crash out ever in the series. Yeah, we need a plank. I'm gonna get a replica plank. I'm talking, I want a real piece of wood that looks just like plank. I'm talking dead identical. That is a collector's item to have. And Johnny was actually one of my favorite characters, probably because of Plank. But anytime Johnny got on screen, you just knew something funny was gonna happen.
Despite being perceived as unusual in modern times, his actions were regarded as simple childhood innocence and playfulness during his era. He passed away in 1922 after a long struggle with tuberculosis.
What?
A cure for his illness, penicillin, wasn't discovered until 6 years later. In the afterlife, he brought his only friend, Plank, with him, as it was the last thing he saw before his death.
Wow.
Plank is known to sometimes show sentient behavior, notably shown in the movie.
He's
and
alive.
that could be explained by their existence within Purgatory.
Damn, my boy Johnny died in 1923 of tuberculosis. I want to know, like, I'm trying to, like, comprehend where he's getting the information from. I mean, it's just a theory, but, like, where he's coming up with these exact scenarios of where they died, what time, how, all that stuff. Johnny had tuberculosis in 1923 and died. Like, you're talking about it, and then all of a sudden you just drop that bomb on us, sir. And yes, y'all heard me correct. Plank is alive. I 100% believe that. Plank is living. We've seen bits and pieces of it in the show where they just, you know, they pan to Plank, kind of like Jim in The Office, where the camera and he's just, it's the same thing. They'll pan to Plank, and, you know, you just know that Plank did it. That Plank was the cause of what happened. Tell me I'm wrong. All right, so first we got Rolf, who died in 1903, getting stampeded, ran over. Is stampeded even a word? I'm not sure. Anyways, he got ran over by his own livestock. Was it cow? Imagine getting ran over by chickens and pigs. That would suck. I'd prefer to get trampled by cows. But, and then my man Johnny, my boy Johnny, died in 1923 of tuberculosis because they didn't have the medicine he needed during that time. Wow. Justice for Johnny.
Top shelf, Shorty. Hey, go bug Sari a little pest, Johnny boy.
See next?
Eddie, the leader.
Oh,
Eddie is
damn.
one of the main characters in Ed, Edd and Eddy. He is also the self-appointed leader of the Edds gang. He basically won the marathon
Was he
in
a
which
gangster
nobody
in
else
his past
participated.
life?
Eddie has many shortcomings, not just for a leader, but even for a regular sane human.
Short
He's
jokes.
overambitious, deceitful, and always power hungry. Even his friends often reject him in front of others. We all have that one friend in every group. Sure, go ahead and share this episode with them. Eddie's opponent, Kevin, even called him desperate for all his
biggest
attempts
bully.
to make money. He always seeks approval because his rival, Kevin, is more popular than he. And this makes Eddie feel inferior, even when
see it.
compared to Plank.
I
Eddie was
see it.
born in New York during the Great Depression. Like many others, he must have witnessed economic struggles as well as hunger and malnutrition.
Wow.
Eddie soon moved to Peach Creek with a burning desire to escape lifelong poverty and misery. However, he had no one like a father figure that he could idolize and learn to navigate the world from. All he had was an older brother who was surely not a good choice to be inspired by. Eddie attempted to make money by scamming the swindled kids, but it doesn't
Yeah.
go well. He was chased by them into a lake where he drowned and bit the dust. In the afterlife, Eddie continues his pursuit of the almighty dollar through scamming, showing his persistent nature even beyond the world of the living.
So Eddie never really changed. Eddie was always the same. His past life really was no different. I think they said the Great Depression. What did they give a specific year? I didn't. I don't think I caught that. But I know the Great Depression era. Actually, I mean I know of it, but I completely forgot when that was, because who actually remembers anything they learned in school? Actually, I do, because the other day I just thought about plate tectonics for some reason, retained all that knowledge. But the Great Depression and math, yeah, I didn't remember shit. But my man died get rich or die trying. Eddie Jackson, for real. Like, wow, that is crazy. My man died doing what he loved, chasing that dollar. He didn't change. He didn't change at all. That one's not that shocking to me. I could see, he drowned. That's a pretty shitty way to go. But, I mean, all the scamming caught up to him. You know what I'm saying? But this one, not that bad. Not that bad at all. It actually fits his character. And this one might be the least worst death on them all. Again, drowning sucks, but you got getting trampled by livestock and dying of tuberculosis, compared to your scamming catching up to you and people chasing you into a creek or lake or whatever to drown. I mean, did he have it coming? We got Sarah or Ed? Wait, Sarah, right? No, probably Ed.
Ed, the half-wit. Ed is
Big
so
Ed.
bad that he's actually good. I mean, there's barely anything that he can do without hilariously
house.
failing at it. Ed is also one of the three main characters of the show. Although he is the strongest of the three, he's also the least intelligent. But we get it. Not all fingers are the same, right? Ed, however, is a pleasant character with a positive attitude towards everyone he meets. Additionally, he has a knack for befriending everyone he comes across.
Gotta love
Ed
Ed.
is often forgetful and innocent, which makes him an ideal partner for Eddie's scams because he's very loyal and he rarely questions or doubts them. Yet,
He's the crash
Ed
dummy.
never thinks of mistreatment from Eddie, even though he always serves as the main manpower for all of the schemes. Ed's naivety
What?
makes him a victim of his sister
episode
too,
was that?
Sarah, her dominant personality. He's always scared of Sarah, and why wouldn't he be, because she has this control over him. Despite her torture and teasing, Ed does care a lot for Sarah and tries hard to keep her safe and happy. Ed and Sarah joined the cul-de-sac right after Eddie. After their father's death in the Second World War, they were distant from their mother. Maybe that's what led to Sarah adopting this bossy behaviour to compensate for the loneliness, while Ed immersed himself in comic books and monster movies to escape his troublesome reality. In 1953, they both tragically died in a car accident and united with the other dead children in the afterlife.
Nah, that one sucks. That one sucks. They did a double whammy. They hit us with a 2-for-1. You know what? That one, I feel like you definitely pulled that one out your ass, because it's like, you know what? Let's just say they both died in a car crash. Get the siblings out the way. I think Eddie is the only other one that at least they showed that had a sibling on the show. I think Double D, the other Ed, I believe he was a single child, which, God, I'm scared to see how Double D is going to go. But Big Ed and Sarah died in a car crash in 1953. And they also lost their father in World War II at a young age. That was just sad. So, was their mom? So, did the mom die too? So the entire family's just gone. Hopefully, mom did. Hopefully, mom. And this is sad to say, but hopefully, mom didn't survive that crash, because imagine losing your husband in World War II. and then you lose both your kids in a car. Bro, take me out too. For real. And it looks like they're only going to be doing like the main cast or like the characters that were on screen the most. But then again, how many side characters were there really in the show? So if I had to guess, we're probably going to get Jimmy, Inez, Kevin. I can't think of any other Jimmy, Inez, Kevin. I can't really think of any other characters right now off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get those three.
In 1953, they both tragically died in a car accident and united with the other dead children in the afterlife.
You get off. You guys are totally acting like jerks.
Inez.
Why don't you leave poor Jimmy alone? He's younger than you know, and blah, 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 blah.
Naz, the hippie.
Or
Naz von
yeah.
Partenschmier is the popular kid in town, and she's also the romantic interest of the show. She's known for her trendy and beautiful looks, and
Was
she often
she?
hangs out with the cool kids on the block,
I don't remember
mainly
that.
Kevin. Her beauty leaves most boys captivated, and more often makes them nervous and speechless. However,
Sorry, I had to take a drink of my coffee. I thought Naz was like a tomboy. I did. I just thought she was one of the fellas, one of the homies. She, you know, then again, it was the 90s, but, or early 2000s. Yeah, I never once got that vibe from her. She was never my love interest. I never said, hey, I got a crush on Naz from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Then again, I was a kid watching the show, as most of us were. But wow, Naz was the love interest of... So everybody in the cul-de-sac was trying to clap? That's crazy.
However, with the exceptions being Rolf and Jimmy. As the head cheerleader at Peach Creek Junior High School, Naz mixes sweetness with occasional unusual behaviour, acting like the typical friendly and somewhat dumb blonde girl next door. She's fine with the Eds and their mischief as long as they're not troubling her girl gang. Naz was born to hippie parents in the 1960s. She's a flirty flower child, engaged with the male children in the neighbourhood.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in the summer of '79, a local asylum escapee entered her home, committing terrible acts against Naz and resulting in her sad death alongside her entire family. Naz seems to be a little too okay for someone with such a gruesome death, but I guess that's the point of the afterlife. You leave the suffering behind.
There is no way I just heard what I think I heard. What was it, like the summer of 1979? Isn't that what he said? Where a man broke into their house, and didn't he say do unspeakable things or gruesome? He didn't say she was murdered. I mean, that's what happened. Her and her whole family got murdered, but he said that that person did things to... Y'all know where I'm going with. There's no way. That's dark. That is crazy. Why? Hey, these are all theories. Where did you get that one from? Holy hell. Like, that rocked my brain for a second. Like, what? Because once I heard that, I was like, you never once said murdered, killed, nothing. Shot, stat, none of that. Ain't no way. Bro, this theory is going to stick with me now till the end of time. Anytime I watch this show, anytime anything Ed, Edd n Eddy is brought up, I'm just going to think about all the ways that they all tragically died. Why did I decide to watch this?
Huh?
You
Double
throw
D.
like a 2-year-old.
Ed, the Brainiac. Ed is known by the coolest nickname of them all, Double D. He's one of the three main characters within the show. Despite being the physically weakest, he stands out clearly as the most intelligent amongst the Eds. Ed is one of the characters who is very careful, kind, and has good intentions. He's characterized by calm and disciplined behavior. He hates chaos and loves order, often playing the role of a peacemaker due to his love for harmony. Although Ed is gentle and accepting, he can sometimes be a bit awkward, especially in interactions with girls. Despite the fact that he seems to be an outcast, he earns respect within his peer group. Ed often offers assistance when needed. Without Ed and Eddie, Ed might have been more accepted by the overall group. However, being a perfectionist and always aiming to please others, Ed was born in the 1970s, and this was a time when an early academic success became the societal norm. Ed was raised by strict, controlling parents who pushed him to excel academically and maintain flawless cleanliness.
Okay.
It's believed that he met his demise due to a gas leak, causing an explosion involving his chemistry set's Bunsen burner.
I don't know why I thought he was going to have a gruesome death. Probably because he is such a nice character, a wholesome character. He really was like, oh, come on, Eddie. Y'all know when he used to do that shit? Like, anytime Eddie would come up with some crazy, oh, Eddie, come on. He was always trying to save the day. He was always trying to be like, guys, let's just go home. Like what are we doing? Let's go. That one isn't so bad. Very strict parents, which could explain the OCD. If you've seen the episode or been inside Double D's house, you know all the labeling, all like the order and everything needs to be in place, just all that shit. So all that was very on brand for the character, and even with his death, a gas leak and his chemistry set causing an explosion. I could see that one for sure. He was lucky enough to have one of the least worst deaths so far.
Yeah? What can you
Kevin.
dorks do about it? Yeah! Well, we dorks are gonna solve this!
Kevin the Bully. Kevin was born in the early 1980s. He had to face a tough childhood with a broken down home and an abusive father. Kevin had to bear the loss of his mother at a young age too. Like most bullies, he became a bully to other kids in the cul-de-sac to cope with his own frustrations. Kevin loves his bike and is always seen with it. This aligns well with the rise of extreme sports and the popularity of...
Does he get hit by a car while riding his bike? I'm gonna go ahead and assume that Kevin got hit by a car while driving his bike, and that's why it's with him in the afterlife.
The X Games in 1995. Unfortunately, his father fatally beat him in a drunken rage in the later months of 1999.
Whoa!
This led to his death on the way to the hospital.
Holy
his
shit!
father was convicted of the murder and sentenced to a life in prison. In the afterlife, Kevin imagined his father as loving, but he retained his bullying behavior.
I could have not been prepared for that. I thought he was going to get ran over by a car. He's seen with his bike. He's always on his bike, which is true. Kevin was always riding, he was always pedaling, always riding. But no, instead he got beat to death by his alcoholic father. I mean, his dad was convicted, thank God, because Jesus Christ. And for Kevin being the bully, I never thought I'd say this. I feel bad for him. I feel more than, God, he really isn't a bully. I mean, he is in the afterlife, but when you find out that, by God, you can't, he just needs a hug.
YouTubes! Where'd you get those from?
Not Jimmy.
What? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Jimmy the Jinx. Jimmy is a kid who often feels unsure about himself and likes to cry way too often. He dreams of becoming famous, but miraculously, Jimmy is prone to accidents due to his clumsy nature. He always has many bandages and is the least strong kid in the cul-de-sac.
Did he walk
Despite
in the
this,
traffic?
he can be clever when he wants to be, and he successfully pulls off scams, even fooling the Eds with one tricky plan.
He does.
Ed arrived last in the cul-de-sac, born in the early 1990s, and diagnosed with leukemia. His parents thought he was too weak to play with the other kids, so he remained in bed most of his life. After a valiant fight with leukemia,
He's a
Jimmy
bubble
eventually
boy.
passed away, completing the story of the cul-de-sac purgatory.
That's it? Jimmy just had cancer?
Marvelous verdict. While exploring the cartoony town in the Ed, Edd N Eddy show, we've come across tales that are chilling and dark, to be honest. These theories challenge
Did
the
we?
creator's level of creativity. Not only does a dark theory talk about Peach Creek being purgatory, but it carefully lists down all the possible reasons for it to be one. One captivating reason to look into this terrifying hypothesis is that it gives us a fresh perspective on our childhood favorites.
I wish I
Edd N
didn't
Eddy
have.
was one of the many shows from the 90s that would influence our interests further in life, and it feels somewhat important for us to know the whole truth about this beloved show and its characters. I hope you enjoyed this dark theory and do share it with your fellow 90s kids. And of course, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.